Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be checking out every class of Imperial Warship explained by an Australian, Warhammer 40k lore by MajorKill. Yes guys, I've had quite a few recommendations for MajorKill over on the channel before for the past couple months. A lot of you guys have been asking me to go check him out, so that's what I'm going to be doing here today. Now I figure since we've been playing Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2, go check that out, the streams if you haven't. It'd be great to know a little bit more context on the different classes of warships that we see throughout the game, and I think that would be fantastic to get a little bit more knowledge maybe on what each one's good at specifically, and I think I might be able to transfer that into the streams that we eventually do on Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2. So I think that'd be really relevant for what we've been doing recently on the channel, and I think it's a really sick video. A lot of you guys have been asking me or telling me to go check him out, so I figure, yeah, why not? Let's go do that today. So yeah, big shout out to everybody who recommended MajorKill over on the channel. I appreciate that a lot, of course. And yeah, big shout out to all of our members, all the Hastati out there. I appreciate you guys. You guys inspire me to make more content for you guys every single day. And yeah, guys, without any further delay, let's get right into every class of Imperial Warship explained by an Australian Warhammer 40k lore. Obviously, I do know some of the basic ship types, but what they are specifically good at, I could not tell you. So again, I think it'd be really interesting to learn and yeah, see what MajorKill has to offer here. So yes, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more content from me, and leave your recommendations down in the comments below. Of course, I love seeing them, and I love hearing your recommendations as always. So yeah, guys, without any further delay, let's get right into this video.
There is a shocking amount of visceral melee combat in Warhammer 40k. It's not like Dune where there is a valid in-law reason for people only using melee weapons, it's literally just the rule of cool, since there are railguns that could atomize you from a continent away, as well as thousands of other different types of guns that should be way more lethal than a glorified chainsaw. With so much melee carnage, sometimes we forget about what is going on in the void of space. Epic battles as starships rip each other to shreds with torpedoes, lance fire, boarding actions, and some good old-fashioned ramming.
And what I will say to that is what's cool playing the game and actually getting the context for that is just the vast scale that these space battles take place in. Now, obviously, when you hear of a space battle, you think, oh yeah, obviously it's going to take place over, you know, many kilometers of territory, of course, like millions even, right? But just to put it into perspective and just to see the ranges of each of the different ships. Now, the numbers, I'm not too sure what those units are in the game. But you get some of the biggest ships firing up to like a 19,000 unit of range. I'm not sure what that unit of measurement they use in 40k is. So somebody let me know if you can, let me know about that. It'd be great to put some more context to it. But yes, the vast distances, and it's really good too, that game, for showing you just what different races are good at. Obviously, we fought Chaos. Some of those ships are pretty similar to what the Imperium has. Obviously, they're like, Heresy era battleships essentially, right? Which is essentially where the Imperium is at in 40k anyway. But then you have like the Mechanicus, which like have really dog shit borders, but they have all those support abilities, all those technical abilities, and their weapons themselves on their ships, which make them such adverse foes, So I think that's awesome to see the different. Just Battlefleet's great for showing like the different strengths of these factions in action. I think that's awesome.
That are shreds with torpedoes, lance fire, boarding actions, and some good old-fashioned
ramming. Which we've seen
don't change.
All of.
The biggest decider in those void battles is who has the biggest schlong, the biggest battleship, with the Imperium having multiple classes of warship to choose from. Before we get started, my years of studying Warhammer 40k has led to one conclusion. The best way to safeguard your soul from the predations of chaos is by having an easy-to-follow, affordable, and effective skincare routine. Thankfully, Geology has partnered with me today like a glorious heretic purging inquisitor to save your skin and soul in equal measure. Jokes aside, in life you got to take the easy wins when they present themselves. Skincare is an easy win that makes a huge
That's very
difference.
true.
You ever wonder why some people turn 30 then look like absolute arse, yet some people are absolutely golden? A huge part of that is skincare, but why Geology above the others? Well, it knows we aren't skincare gurus, so it simply asks us to fill out an online survey, then BAM! A custom skincare routine suited to your needs is sent to your door.
Wow, that's
I used
awesome.
to struggle with oily
Highly
skin
convenient
and dark
too.
circles under my eyes, but both of those have noticeably reduced since using geology. Geology also offers numerous other hygiene products, things that us Warhammer nerds should probably appreciate a bit more. Stuff like body washes, deodorants, and many, many more. So to get 70% off your first skincare package as well as 50% off an additional geology product, then use my link below. That is the biggest discount for a physical product that I've ever offered on this channel.
God damn.
Cheers to Geology for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over each class.
And obviously, guys, go use his code. Let's see there.
My eyes, but both of those have noticeably reduced since using geology. Geology also offers numerous other hygiene products, things that us Warhammer nerds should probably appreciate a bit more.
I just want to see his
like
code.
Body washes, deodorants,
Want to give him a good shout out here.
So to get 70% off your first skincare package as well as 50%.
There it is. Yeah, right there. Sorry, the captions I had turned on fucking covered it up for me there. Yeah, linker code MajorKill70. Go use his code if you plan on using geology. Geology there. Go use his code. Skincare is super important, and if you can get such a big discount using his code, man, great fucking deal. Go use his code. 70% off is nuts.
Product, then use my link below. That is the biggest discount for a physical product that I've ever offered on this channel. Cheers to Geology for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over each class of Imperial Warship, discussing their size.
Love to see
power,
companies
special
support
features,
creators like
and
that.
some famous examples of them. I bet you don't know what the class of the Emperor's personal ship was. Oh, let's get into it.
I will say I'm really liking his
An
narration
interesting thing
style
about
too
the
right now.
warships in 40k is that because technology has generally regressed, the
True.
ships made 10,000 years ago during the Great Crusade are often the best the Imperium has,
Yes.
as they have now lost the ability to make a lot of their classes of ships.
And that's the cool thing between like seeing chaos ships being fucked up in the different physical ways that they are fucked up, and seeing the Imperium ships, because they're essentially the same ships. They're Heresy era Imperium vessels, but obviously, you know, the chaos vessels have been succumbed to the warp, succumbed to the will of these chaos gods, right? So I think it's really fucking interesting, just seeing those physical differences amongst the ships. Like you see, you know, who was it? I think it was the Death Guard or whatever. No, maybe it wasn't the Death Guard. Man, I forget who it was, but either way, fucking, it was sick to see like all the physical differences on those chaos ships, like the Alpha Legion ships, you know, the World Eater ships. Those are fucking sick to see.
Often the best the Imperium has, as they have now lost the ability to make a lot of their classes of ships. Further along that theme, ships predating the Great Crusade, ones that were made during the Dark Age of technology, are leagues better than the current modern day ones,
True.
highlighting just how far mankind has fallen. At the bottom of the pecking order for warships, we have the Starfighters, attack craft, interceptors, or whatever you want to call them. Small, agile ships that are launched from their big mamas in swarms.
Right, so that's like your hangar ships that we see, all the boarding ships, the fighter aircraft that you launch from your larger carrier ships. That's what these would be. Okay.
Or whatever you want to call them. Small, agile ships that are launched from their big mamas in swarms, designed to intercept torpedoes, boarding pods, or other fighters. They are often flown by 1 or 2 pilots, with many of them not even having a crew beyond that. They are more like mosquitoes compared to the leviathans of true battleships, but in great enough number, they can be a huge pain in the ass. There are also specialized versions of each fighter, including bombers, which can fuck up bigger ships with their chunky payloads.
We have seen
well
those too. They slap.
But because there are so many different types of fighters, and no one really wants to waste their time learning about the smallest ship on this list, let's just move on.
I think that's kind of slept on, actually. I would love to learn more about these smaller Stark fighters, just because, again, like, the role that they play, maybe not on the grand scale of galactic battles, but again, like, you know, these can be deployed from orbit above planets. These have plenty of like practical uses, I'm sure, on the battlefield, not even counting space battles, which they are incredibly useful for. These are your screens, right? If they're launching torpedoes or bombers at you, you need starfighters like this to keep you alive, to keep your fleet actually functioning. So yeah, I think, you know, I can see why, because like for a video like this, he obviously wants to focus on the bigger, badder ships. I absolutely understand that. And like most Warhammer fans probably are here for that. But I find it very interesting, the more slept on, like smaller ships as well. They should get their heyday as well, because I'm sure in the tactical sense, man, those 2 pilots in that fighter craft, those are what's really saving the day. the stopping torpedoes, stopping bombers from hitting your bigger ships. They're really unsung heroes in a sense.
Really wants to waste their time learning about the smallest ship on this list, let's just move on. The smallest warp-capable craft gives us the Viper-class Stoop, the ultimate scout ship. This ship's only purpose is to fly towards an enemy fleet, let out a massive scan, and then run away. They have barely any weapons or shields, as both of these would help give away their position. As such, a Viper-class will pretty much always travel ahead of a fleet, and then upon encountering hostiles, will leg it to the nearby warp point and run the fuck away. This technically isn't a warship per se, but as it's used entirely for war reasons, I thought I'd chuck her in. Now we have the first category.
And yeah, recon vessels, again, like you can't sleep on those either. And as we saw in Battlefleet Gothic Armada, if you can't see your enemy in space, you can't fucking shoot them. And if they can see you, they're going to be nailing you with everything they have. Line of sight, not even line of sight, but recon in general, knowledge of where your enemy is, their movements, their positions. So vital in a space battle. So yes, absolutely necessary part of the fleet right here, these recon ships.
Ship per se, but as it's used entirely for war reasons, I thought I'd chuck her in. Now we have the first category of warships, the escort ships. The first class I want to talk about are the Cobra class destroyers, a 1 kilometer long, incredibly agile ship.
We've seen those Cobra classes. I employ those quite a bit.
I love how the smallest warship is 1 kilometer long. They are designed to be able to fly close to enemy capital ships, unleash a bunch of torpedoes, and then get out of there before they can be targeted by broadsides. They're also one of the easiest ships to build, so it's not uncommon for Imperial
They're very cheap.
Basically just very cheap guys, since they make great escorts and can take out ships far larger than themselves.
That's a good strategy. I'll have to employ that. You know, when I see like an Imperium fleet that can take 5 escort ships, I'll just chock them full of Cobras one time and see how that works. We'll have to test that out sometime.
Their speed also makes them great for catching pirates. Overall, a small but deadly battleship. If ships could have shortman syndrome and the desire to overachieve, it would be the Cobra class. The next escort ship gives us the Turbulent class heavy frigate, and boy does it earn its name. Clocking in around 2 kilometers long, these bad boys fly ahead of the fleet in a vanguard and destroy enemy scout ships. Their tactics are very pirate-like, and due to their archaic design, a lot of people shit on them. However, they are pretty solid ships and have become incredibly rare, mostly because charging ahead of your fleet isn't the best way to keep your hull intact.
And again, I imagine like due to lacking STCs on certain Mechanicus worlds, perhaps they might not even be able to build these anymore, certain worlds. I'm sure it would completely depend upon what STCs are remaining on those worlds, you know. So if you don't have the technology for that, you might eventually not see any more of these ships if they can't produce them, or if they can't produce them in great enough numbers to the point where they're even noticeable in a fight, you know. Again, when you're talking 40k space battles, you're talking thousands of ships lining up on each other, if not tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, potentially, I'm sure, on the greater scale of things, especially depending on what enemy you're fighting. So, you know, yeah, it's really detrimental to have a ship that's as expendable, I guess, in a sense, or meant to be expendable, given the 40k universe where you can't replicate these technologies once they're gone. So to build massive ships like this is such a consumption of time and energy. So yeah, I imagine losing any ship like this must be hard. Of course, these are only the small ones. When you're talking the bigger ships, man, like that's the work production, like a year for a planet, I'm sure, like a total to build one of those motherfuckers. Like you can't just be throwing those out, you know.
Tempest frigates are another escort with the purpose
but that's why escort ships are so important,
despite void warfare,
so that you're putting these ships, these smaller ships, which yes are expensive but way less valuable than your larger ships, you're putting these at risk. I love that.
Frigates are another escort with the purpose of engaging enemies at close range.
Also those rams on them, those bows, wow.
Over thousands of square kilometers. Ships regularly get up close and personal for some classic broadside and boarding actions. This is where the Tempest shines. It has a triple armored prow and has swapped all long-range guns for broadsides, as well as extensive infrastructure for the unleashing of boarding craft. Overall, a niche ship, but a valuable one. Having a few of these in your patrol would really shut down the more hyper-aggressive enemy maneuvers.
True.
Probably the most famous of the escort ships are the sword frigates.
Yes, I use those all the time too.
Can do everything decently, but doesn't excel in anything other than durability. They are durable as fuck. Fleets love them due to how easy they are to repair and maintain.
And to his point there, yeah, and again, in Battlefleet, I'll keep referencing that because it's the only reference I have. Yes, I use those sword classes simply because they can take a hit. Out of the frigates that you have, they got double the hit points, I believe, of most other frigates, or most other, not frigates, escort ships that you can actually build. So yeah, durable as fuck, extremely useful. They have 9,000 units in the game of radar range, so they're great scout ships, and they can take a hit. So if you want scouting capabilities, always get yourself 2 of these. You'll probably always have it, is what I've been noticing.
Durability. They are durable as fuck. Fleets love them due to how easy they are to repair and maintain, with even some Space Marine chapters using them. They can even be modified to become a different class. The best example is the Firestorm, a sword frigate with a big lance gun at the prow.
Yes, those are the ones.
That can slice through hull plating like a katana through an
Those are my
iron rod.
favorites.
So having a few Firestorms in your patrol could very well spell doom for much larger battleships. Now for the final escort ship of the day. The largest, clocking in at 2.2 kilometers, is the peculiar Falchion class. This ship was built on Forge World Voss after some cultists stole some ship plans. Then the Imperials tried to recreate what they thought was on the plans that was stolen, resulting in them creating the Falchion class. It's similar to the sword frigate in the way that it's a jack of all trades escort, however it is a little bit less durable, but is faster and more maneuverable. It has proven itself in void warfare numerous times over, despite its pretty questionable origin. Now onto the chunky.
So my opinion on these the Falchion classes, I don't mind them. And it's nice that they do have torpedoes. That being said, they only have, I think they only fire 2 torpedoes at a time, which, well, nothing to sneeze at, especially on a smaller ship, can definitely get its licks in for sure. And when you're tossing 4 of these at the enemy with 2 torpedoes each, that's dangerous, you know? Independently firing torpedoes, so you can line that shit up. You can hit them multiple times. Absolutely dangerous, but 2 on just one ship, if it's by itself, it's not as effective as it should be. If those miss, it's 2, you know, miss, which even if it was to hit, 2 by itself is not usually enough to kill anything major. Obviously damage, cause fires, that's great. But when you're talking the battle cruisers and shit, firing 6 torps at once, they, you know, the same amount as 4 of these single ships. I personally would rather go for a sword frigate, just for the durability alone, more so than the speed. On my escort ships, that's my personal opinion.
Despite its pretty questionable origin.
Could be a wrong one.
The chunkier boys, the cruisers. Cruisers aren't particularly impressive and act more so as the bridge between escorts and true battleships. In saying that though, they can be pretty bloody deadly and carry a crew of over 100,000 people, especially when we get to the battle and grand cruiser subcategories. For the sake of this video not being 3 hours long, I'll discuss more so what each type of cruiser category is before using a few of the classes as examples, because there is legitimately over 20 different classes of cruisers, with the differences often being as simple as which way the toilet spins when you flush it. Light cruisers are often used for scouting, but not in the same way that a Viper is used. They have the firepower and durability to trade with enemy vessels, so they make great patrol ships. For some reason, they also have extremely badass names, like the Dauntless class, which is a lightly armored but fast and deadly jack-of-all-trades cruiser, or the Endeavour class, which is a larger but much slower cruiser, however has significantly more firepower and acts more so as the heavy weapons ship of a patrol. Light cruisers are generally around the 3 to 5 kilometer long mark, with around 50 to 100,000 crew members. There are others, like the Defender or Stygius classes, but they have fuck all lore and books don't generally follow the exploits of one of the smallest classes of warship that often.
Yeah, sadly.
Standard cruisers, whilst they are generally inferior to true battleships, they are often much faster and the first to react to enemy actions. They can prevent flanking, screen for slower battleships, or chase down fleeing ships. They are also a lot easier to build, with the technology required to build most cruisers not yet lost. Once again, they have super badass names, like the Dictator class, which are known for having a shitload of flight decks.
I think we've seen the Dictator class. I use that quite a bit, as he says, because of just how many fucking shitloads of flight decks it has. Super versatile, super useful. I think you get 3 squads of fighters, bombers, and the Shark assault boats, the boarders, and those especially on the Astartes vessels. I actually can't remember if the Astartes get them. Perhaps they don't. I think they only get light cruisers. They don't get the actual true traditional cruisers. I think that's more of just a straight up Imperium of Man thing, like Imperium fleet thing, not an Astartes thing, I should say. Sorry, I was an alarm going off. But yeah, so very, you know, very versatile ship, extremely useful in all situations. Again, the recon from the the fighters alone is kind of worth it even by itself, but it can also just trade blows with larger ships. Not the strongest out there, but again, the versatility of it, I always try to build at least
Super
one, have them
badass
in a
names,
fleet.
like the Dictator class, which are known for having a shitload of flight decks, meaning they will often act as an orbitable aircraft carrier that doubles as a base of operation when invading a world, or the Tyrant class, which are effective in both long and short range engagements and come in at just over 5 kilometers long. The rest of the classes,
I don't know if I made a Tyrant
like
yet.
the Dominator or the Gothic, are more or less the
Seen
same
the
ship,
Gothics.
however coming in with different weapon loadouts. For example, the Gothic uses lance weaponry, whilst the Dominator has a fuck-off broadside. Due to the smaller size of cruisers, they don't have the space or power to have lances, large flight decks, and hectic broadsides all in one. They gotta pick one and excel at it. In saying that, the Lunar class tries its absolute best.
Personally, man, I love those lance weaponry. Because again, in Battlefleet, man, they got 100% accuracy. They fucking can't miss, you know? You can miss with your broadsides, obviously, your cannonry, but you can't miss with a light lance, or even the heavy lances. So I fucking love those ships. I try to utilize those as much as I can, and their range is insane. You can just skirmish them down before they even get to you, and it depends on the enemy you're fighting, I think, largely. Like, the Eldari are always going to get into your, you know, they're going to get in, get out, but I feel like broadsides are more useful on them simply because they're going to get into your range. You can't, what's the word? You can't keep them at your max range because they can always just close in on you because of just how fucking fast they are. But with Chaos ships, it's great to use it against them because they're trying to close onto you to board you.
In saying that, the Lunar class tries its absolute best to do everything, having lances, torpedoes, weapon batteries, and more. It's the ultimate generalist cruiser, which is why it's the most common cruiser in the Imperial Navy. Battle cruisers are a bit spicier and are more intended for fleet-on-fleet action rather than just patrolling or scouting, which is more common for the lighter cruisers. Once again, whoever named the cruisers deserves a raise, since the Armageddon class battle cruiser is a
We've seen that one.
Cool fact about the Armageddon class, they were made exclusively from the corpses of dead Lunar class cruisers.
Oh wow.
Hence they are basically just an upgraded version of it, taking all the generalist aspects and increasing the power. However, as it is a bit of a patchwork ship, it's not very comfortable, and because it's basically the same size as a Lunar class cruiser, yet has more power, it's very cramped and quite shitty to serve on. One of the best battle cruisers is the Overlord class, famous for its powerful long-range weaponry that you'd usually only see on a true battleship.
Whenever a ship has a spiky metal on the front, it's got some solid long-range firepower. Okay.
Class.
That's good to know.
Famous for its powerful long-range weaponry that you'd usually only see on a true battleship. Although battle cruisers and normal cruisers are often a similar size, the battle cruisers are like an overclocked version. Better armor, better weapons, and more power without sacrificing too much mobility. They act as either a very powerful patrol and pirate hunter ship, or as a pretty decent support ship in fleet-on-fleet combat. The Grand Cruisers are the biggest and baddest cruisers, clocking in around 7 kilometers with a crew size of well over 100,000. However, the Grand Cruisers are kind of in an awkward spot for what their purpose should be, as most of them were built during the Great Crusade, when enemies didn't really have impressive fleets that could match the Imperium. However, now that they do, why use a Grand Cruiser when a genuine battleship is much better in terms of quality and cost effectiveness?
That's true. It's kind of like in World War I almost, the transition from like dreadnought class ships to like battleships, a traditional battleship. And then from battleships, you know, obviously became obsolete after World War II when you have tow missiles and shit and jet aircraft, you know, that can sink that shit very, very easily. Yeah, you know, and even, you know, because weaponry advanced to such a degree where you can annihilate these larger ships if you're not careful in pretty much a single hit, or at least cripple it to the point where it's not getting away. So yeah, and in terms of 40k, yeah, I imagine during the Great Crusade, they obviously had no human fleet, you know, no human planet that they arrived to was going to have a defense fleet. They're not going to have a defense fleet that could match a ship that size, that's for sure. So I think it's awesome that, you know, he's giving credence to that fact.
As such, most Grand Cruisers have been assigned to patrol duties, which they are overqualified for. Most of them are being phased out, including the Vengeance class, which is incredibly overkill against pirates, and the Furious class, which is super powerful but it's really hard to build. Overall, the Grand Cruisers are awesome but quite obsolete. Oh baby, it's battleship time! Battleships have their own specifications and niches, however pretty much all of them have torpedo pods, launch bays, lances, weapons arrays, and more. All of them are versatile and can fulfill multiple roles. rolls, ranging from about 8 to 10 kilometers long with a crew of
That's what I like to hear.
1,000. So they're really not that much bigger than a Grand Cruiser, but can hit many times harder. That's why I refer to Grand Cruisers as somewhat obsolete. Although each battleship class can fulfill multiple roles, they all have their niches. The Retribution class battleship is best at Leroy Jenkinsing at enemy formations, using its heavily armored prow to deflect enemy fire while firing lances, torpedoes, and pure hatred in a wide spread in front of it, causing havoc and taking out enemy cruisers and escorts. Then when it gets close enough, it brings out the real fun, its heavy broadside. In a straight line, this ship is as fast as a cruiser, so you could consider it to be a shock ship. Not all battleships are made equal though. The ironically named Invincible class was a lightly armored but incredibly fast battleship. Its firepower and speed made it great for taking out Dark Eldar raiders and pirates. However, its armor was so weak that in one engagement, 3 of them were blown up in rapid succession.
Holy shit.
Thus only 10 were ever created. Most battleships look
Yeah, I imagine like having a battleship go out in such a way, in such quick succession, that would definitely, tempt any force, I think, to stop making them in that way. Holy shit.
were blown up in rapid succession, thus only 10 were ever created. Most battleships look very similar because they were often created from the same template, but were modified to fit different roles. For example, the Apocalypse class battleship is built very similar to the Retribution class, however it has different weapons, so instead of charging in, it sits back and tears enemy vessels apart with its advanced lance batteries as well as its Nova cannon. Thus it synergizes extremely well with the Retribution class, as its more feisty cousin takes the brunt of the enemy's attention, allowing this 8-kilometer battleship to snipe enemy vessels.
That makes
The greatest
sense.
of the battleships were the Emperor class, designed over 10,000 years ago and still the gold standard. They often act as capital ships for Imperial Navy forces, but not many of them still exist. Sitting above Imperial battleships
That
are the
looks
Space
sick.
Marine battle barges, used almost exclusively by the Space Marine chapters and legions. Battle
Right.
barges are absolute juggernauts, able to take on multiple enemy ships of a similar size and emerge victorious. No two are the same, with each legion or chapter modifying them to their needs. However, their speed, advanced armor, and deadly weaponry make them a one-ship fleet. The greatest of the battle
Wow.
barges is the Gloriana class ship, clocking in at over 20 kilometers long and
Holy
overpowered
shit.
as fuck. Each
Yeah.
Space Marine Legion was given 1, or in the Dark Angels case, 3, Glorianas to act as their flagships for the Great Crusade. They were god tier, all
So why did the Dark Angels get 3? Is there a? I'm sure there's got to be a good reason for that, but somebody let me know why. Because holy shit, why did they get access to 3 and everyone else just got 1? Holy shit.
3 Glorianas to act as their flagships for the Great Crusade. They were god tier, all of them having the ability to conquer entire systems by themselves, as well as the ability to one-shot enemy battleships like they were nothing. They could field millions of crew members and were extremely resilient. When the Blood Angels Gloriana, the red tier, crash landed on Cygnus Prime, it was able to be salvaged, launched into orbit, and then dragged across the galaxy for repairs.
Holy
However,
shit.
the Gloriana wasn't the largest class if you'd believe it.
I imagine like if one of these went down, yeah, they would, just the status symbol of the Emperor class ships or the battle barges in general, like you would want to recover that at any cost, like such a massive like asset to lose. Yeah, I imagine, and again, the honor, the pride, the history behind that ship, I imagine that any legion losing a battle barge in such way would, they would do probably a lot to try to get it back if they could.
Prior to the Horus Heresy, Lorgar commissioned 3 Abyssal-class super heavy battleships.
Oh, wow.
Their exact size isn't known, but they made Glorianas look small and are more akin to a mobile star fortress than a standard ship. Meaning they
Jeez.
could easily be up to 50 kilometers long.
Oh.
One of the 3 was destroyed, but the other 2 are currently missing. They are powerful enough to match an entire fleet of battleships.
And this is
Above
Lorgar's
the Abyssal
brainchild.
class was the Emperor's own personal warships. One was called the Bucephalus, which was the name of Alexander the Great's horse.
I
with the other
actually
being
knew
called
that.
Imperator Somnium. They don't have a specific class as they were both entirely unique. However, the Imperator Somnium was the greater of the 2 and was even larger than the Abyssal class.
Wow.
It also had some fuck-off planet-destroying weapons that no other ship had the capacity to wield to the same degree, such as a Volkite Storm Accelerator and multiple Nova Cannons, whatever the
Goddamn.
fuck those are. It also didn't require a large crew as almost everything was automated due to it being a Dark Age of Technology ship.
Damn.
Tragically, it was destroyed during the Siege of Terror when it Leroy Jenkins
Oh.
charged by itself at the entire trade trader armada in order to allow a Dark Angel force to get past the blockade to relight the Astronomicon and save Terra. It was able to take out 5 Trader Space Marine battle barges, you know, those fuck-off one-man army ships, before dying. And finally, the greatest Imperial ship in the galaxy, a one-off with a class of its own, we have the Phalanx. The Phalanx is a mobile star fortress about the size of a small moon, with an estimated diameter of over 1,000 kilometers, making it so much fucking bigger than every ship ever made.
And you see that in the prologue of Battlefleet Gothic Armada, and the size of the Phalanx is fucking nuts. Like, arguably, it's hard to say what's bigger, the Blackstone or the Phalanx. They're very similarly sized, but gigantic. Do not match to any ship that you have on the field, that's for sure. These things take the cake, and they take most of your screen up too.
1,000 kilometers, making it so much fucking bigger than every ship ever made. It was built during the Dark Age of technology and was then found and modified by Rogel Dawn. However, after the heresy, due to its size and the inability to properly repair it, it mostly acted as a stationary star fortress that was only occasionally flown out through the galaxy when shit got bad. However, in recent lore, the Adeptus Custodes fixed it and brought it back to full operation using some of their spicy toys. So now the Imperium has a mobile Death Star over 50 times bigger than a Gloriana class ship. Have fun with that one, you filthy fucking heretics. Your active omen ain't gonna save ya. In terms of named classes of warship, there are probably like 100 more I haven't mentioned, but most of them literally have no lore and are just mentioned in passing in one of the 20-year-old White Dwarf magazines. So if you really want to know them all, then Google is your friend. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. Well, there's not only a boatload of Battle Mace 40 million hentai, but also a bunch of live action nude cosplays. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more classy content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Wow, guys. That was awesome. That was every class of Imperial Warship explained by an Australian, Warhammer 40k lore by MajorKill. Wow, guys, I thought that was awesome. It was great to see a more in-depth explanation of all these different ships that we have seen in Battlefleet Gothic Armada. I really was looking for more of a like a better in-depth explanation, what they were good at kind of thing, and this did that pretty well. This gave me a little bit of a teaser into every one of them, and I thought that was great. Gave me some knowledge, gave me some tactics to go off of, and let me know for the next time I play 40k Battlefleet Gothic Armada, just what I should be looking for in my fleet composition. That definitely actually helped a lot, I'm not gonna lie, especially knowing what specific classes of ships were literally meant to do. That helps tons, you know, so I think that's awesome. Big shout out to MajorKill for that video. That was fantastic, and I can see why you guys were recommending him so much to me. So yeah, big shout out to everyone for watching the video. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more content from me, and leave your recommendations down in the comments below. Big shout out to our members, all the Hastati out there. I appreciate you guys. You guys make inspire me to make more content for you guys every single day. And yeah, guys, with that, this has been Centurion, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.